We are still waiting for an announcement from Kasean Pryor.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Monday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my fifth year covering the University of Louisville, third year hosting this show. And I want to take the time to personally thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. The deadline for basketball players to enter the transfer portal is late on Tuesday evening. All eyes turn to Kasean Pryor, awaiting an announcement on whether he's going to stay at Louisville or enter the portal. We'll discuss that. We will talk about Corey Calker committing elsewhere and how Louisville should fill the rest of the roster spots. We'll dive into a weekly mailbag segment here on this Monday. Some great questions that you all have asked that I'm going to attempt to answer throughout the duration of the show, all on the basketball side of things. Like I have mentioned a couple times, I'm going out of town on Tuesday morning, going to Houston. I will be gone until late Friday night. So I tried to get a couple of episodes in, but seemingly with the delay in the Kasean Pryor announcement, there's a good chance that I'm going to bring my recording stuff down to Texas and record remotely if that news comes. So things are going to be a little weird and wonky, but I'm going to try to get as much content out as I can. But as of Monday evening, at about 8 o'clock when we're recording this, we're still waiting on an announcement from Kasean Pryor. And why that is critical at this moment is because we are getting closer and closer to the deadline. College basketball players have until tomorrow evening on April 22nd, on Tuesday, to enter the portal. So we are getting really close to having some sort of clarification on what Kasean Pryor is going to do, because if the news comes out that he doesn't enter the portal, well, he's pretty much coming back. Or if I don't know that the deadline is passed for the NBA draft, but I don't think he's going to try out any type of draft aspirations this offseason. So you'd imagine if a decision doesn't come, he's going to return. Now, if he does enter the portal, then you open up a completely different discussion. And we're going to cover all bases here. We're going to discuss each of the possibilities. And I think that the most likely is that you get news that Kasean Pryor is going to return. And that is the hope, because I would have hated to have seen his Louisville career get cut short last year due to injury, and we don't get to see the best of Kasean Pryor in that Cardinal red. I think that his skill set is exactly what this year's roster needs at that 4 spot. Ability to run the floor with his athleticism. I know that there's questions regarding how effective is he going to be post ACL operation. I think he's going to be pretty effective. Just tailor-made for this specific roster and this scheme as a whole. And as it relates to how Louisville fills out the rest of the roster, it all depends on what Pryor does. Because I've been under the assumption that Pryor is the final missing piece. I know that there are rumors out there of Louisville being potentially involved with Chad Baker-Mazara from Auburn, Jameer Watkins from Florida State. I haven't really gotten that vibe despite the rumors being out there on social media. Like, I feel like it's Louisville getting Pryor and then filling out the roster with sort of quality depth pieces, end of rotation guys to give yourself some more injury insurance. And I think that is still the case as of Monday, April 21st. If something changes, which in the transfer portal and NIL era they often do, then we will obviously pivot. But it seems like this has been the intention all along. Thus, why you haven't seen anyone else come to Louisville. And credit to Pat Kelsey, because even if for whatever reason Pryor were to shock everyone to enter the portal, that's the spot you need. You did a great job of bringing in your top 3 targets in the backcourt in the portal, got all 3 of them to visit, got all 3 of them to sign within a week. And for the past couple of weeks, you've just been chilling, man. Big chilling is what Louisville has been doing. Don't let any of the rival fans tell you that the Cardinals have been whiffing on all of these transfer portal players, because it's not true. Louisville's been awaiting the decision from Kasean Pryor and Nate Ament. Nate Ament did go to Tennessee. So you wonder what the holdup is. And I had someone ask me, are you nervous about Pryor? And I said, I wouldn't really say nervous, because my intuition is telling me that he's going to return. Because if he was going to enter the portal, why would he have not already done so? Like, logic would tell you that if he was gone, he would have already went to the portal to try to secure his spot with the school that he wants to go to and secure the maximum NIL compensation. But sort of to play the devil's advocate, if he was for sure coming back, well, why hasn't it been announced? Now, we know Kasean Pryor, he has a vibrant personality. He didn't really decide last year until mid-May. And I'm not saying this in a bad way, but, you know, he has that, it's like that theatrical level to him. And that's not a bad thing. Like, he's a flamboyant personality. And I like that about him. I think it is sort of an indication of the swagger that he plays with and the way that he carries himself. But who knows the real reason for why he's waiting? Could it be that, you know, Louisville said, hey, if Nate Ament doesn't come here, you can have your financial situation that you currently have agreed with, and maybe we sprinkle a little bit more from the Ament budget. Or maybe he just wanted to see what Nate Ament did before he made that decision final. So no public reason as to why he's waited this long, but I feel like the longer this goes, the more that this helps Louisville. And even in the situation, we're playing hypotheticals here like we do on the show, even in the situation or scenario where he does enter the portal, you've got the backcourt figured out. You've got the 5 spot figured out. Javon Hadley is back. Kenai Roots is back. You have a good NIL budget left. And all you need is really that one spot, right? Because like I mentioned, the reason why I felt like the Cardinals are only going after Pryor as that missing piece to the puzzle is because they currently have 10 players in the rotation. I know that Pat Kelsey's system calls for a ton of substituting. You go deeper into the bench. Last year, you really couldn't do that because of injury. But with Pryor, you have 11. That's great from a insurance perspective on injury. But you're not going to play 13 players in the rotation. There's going to be some players left out. I think that there is a good chance that the Cardinals don't even use all 15 scholarships. You don't really need to. If you find some situations where you can take a commitment and it's a play for the next season, that's okay. And I think that that's sort of the way to go here for the final couple of spots. One of those spots you were questioning, well, is Corey Calker, the JUCO guard, going to come to Louisville or not? And he tweeted out on Monday evening that he's going to East Carolina, so that spot is open, even if Pryor does commit. Now, if he doesn't, you're going to the portal to try to get the best 4 that you can get in the portal. In the event that he stays, well, I think that with 4 remaining spots, you're probably going to try to maybe bring in a wing. I don't think it's a difference maker, a guy that's going to 100% start, because there is a log jam for minutes. Louisville's going to play a ton of 3-guard lineups because you've got Mikel Brown Jr., Isaac McKneely, Ryan Conwell, and Adrian Wooley. I understand you have Javon Hadley too. I think he plays more of the 4 than he does the 3 because you've got 4 guards that are going to play a ton of minutes. There's a rumor out there that Louisville is eyeing a potential international recruit to join the team, whatever position he is going to play. Like, at some point, you have Now, if he's a guard, if he's a forward, if he's a center, I can't tell you what position he's going to play, but I can't imagine he's going to be one of those players that just doesn't play. So this minutes distribution is going to be pretty challenging to kind of sift through. So I think that Louisville at the moment, if you get that prior commitment, you probably fill, I'd say, 2 more spots. Go out and get an international guy. If you think there's a guy in the portal, a younger player that has a ton of potential that you feel like that you can sort of stash for the 2026-27 season, then I feel like that's the way to go. You give yourself injury insurance for this year if you need it, but the goal is for him to be good coming up in the following season. So there's going to be 6 questions on the mailbag today. All 6 pertaining to men's basketball. We'll divvy the segments up, 3 questions each segment. We'll begin by talking about, is Louisville actually a top 5 team? Where does Louisville go outside of Corey Calker? And much more when we come back on this Monday evening edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. With a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM for the exclusive perks of a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Use the promo code SH5 for 5% off of your first order. That's using supplyhouse.com. Cardinal fans, want to take the time again to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, the show is free and available on all streaming services, covering your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Just a reminder, once again, out of town beginning tomorrow morning, so wanted to try to get these out in a timely manner. If there's a situation to where I need to record when I'm down in Houston, I will do so, whether it's a whole 25 to 30-minute episode or just, 10 minutes or so, just recapping the significant news. That's to be determined, but just a heads up on that. And we wanted to get into the Kasean Pryor announcement wait period because I don't know when he's going to announce. I mean, heck, he could announce while I'm recording this show, a couple hours after. Hopefully not just for the sake of me not looking like a dummy, but if he releases that info tomorrow, then probably have an episode tomorrow. But nonetheless, diving into the weekly mailbag. First question. I saw the Field of 28's way too early top 25 rankings. Louisville was a top 5 team. Do you echo those sentiments? I do think that the Louisville Cardinals are a top 5 team. If you ask my friends, they'll probably tell you I'm a little bit more pessimistic than I should be. And I say that to just sort of point out that I'm not a huge sunshine pumper. I try to keep it pretty realistic. I'm an optimist, but I think that my friends would probably tell you that I'm more of a pessimist according to them. But hey, it is what it is. Perception is reality. So when I say that Louisville is a top 5 team, in my opinion, know that that means that I'm fully bought in. Not only has Pat Kelsey gone out and he has brought back most of the pieces of this roster. I guess this was probably contingent on Kasean Pryor coming back. Like if Pryor comes back, you're bringing everyone back that can come back outside of Corin Johnson. So huge win there. Mikel Brown Jr. and Sananda Frew, 2 incoming freshmen, are going to play key roles. And then 3 incoming really good backcourt additions via the transfer portal. Conwell, McKneely, and Wooley all are going to give the Cardinals, in my opinion, the most complete backcourt in the country. You have respectable wings and a solid 5 spot. So I do think that the Cardinals are a top 5 team, and I would venture out to say that the majority of people that disagree are fans of the team that are about an hour and 15 minutes to the east of the city of Louisville. So what does that tell you? With Corey Calker decommitting and going to East Carolina, do you think that it is there's a level of emphasis to bring in another guard? I mean, you have 5 of them currently. Like Kobe Rogers is going to play some sort of a role. What does that look like? TBD. End of the rotation, maybe backup point guard, depending on if you commit to playing 3-guard lineups. Because if you want to play Hadley, Pryor, and let's say Frew, Khalifa, or Scott with 2 of their guards, then Rogers is going to be pushed down a little bit on that depth chart because of the 4 guards ahead of him. So adding a 6th guard, you'd really have to buy into the 3-guard lineups, which makes me believe that Javon Hadley would be the backup 4 with Kasean Pryor as the starter, and then the 3 guys at the 5 kind of sharing throughout. And the question now becomes, what do you do with Kenai Ruth? So I don't know in terms of whether you want to prioritize a guard or not. This is where I kind of talk about, let's maybe add some insurance in the backcourt, but let's also get a player that can be a guy for next season, right? So we'll see. But ultimately, I mean, whoever you bring in is probably not going to be a starter. So continuing on along, what role will Aly Khalifa's weight loss serve in his bounce back season? Khalifa chose to use last year to get surgery and rehab from an injury that he played through when he was with BYU in the 2023-24 season. Even in that season, had some good moments, but not as good as when he had played for Charlotte. So what role do we think the 6'11 native of Egypt is going to play this year? Well, I think that it could range anywhere from being the go-to guy at the 5 or a situational specialist, great passer, good shooter, not so much of an interior threat like Sananda Frew and James Scott, but he brings an aspect that you don't really have of the other guys. So I think it's going to depend on the matchups, and that's going to really dictate how the minutes are distributed amongst the 3 players at the 5 between Scott, Frew, and Khalifa. I think Frew is the guy at the 5. Whether that happens right away, whether it's something that takes some time, I don't know. It might take Frew a couple games to get going. Maybe James Scott has a huge jump in the offseason. And if you bring in another guard that's going to play a ton, or, I mean, could play a ton if he's good enough, how's that going to skew things? Because where do all these minutes come from? Like, how do you get the opportunity to play all 5 guards and then Hadley and Roots and then Pryor and then the 3 centers? And can Khalifa play the 4? Yeah, I think he can, especially because he can pass the way he can and shoot. So maybe defensively it's a little rough, but Khalifa can coexist on the court with Frew. He can coexist on the court with Scott. I just don't know what the bounce back season's going to look like. I think his weight loss, I mean, he looks jacked. You saw the transformation pictures. He looks just completely jacked. So if he's running the floor well, if he's shooting well and being sort of that, I won't say Nikola Jokic level player, but he's low-key playing that role to where he gets the ball at the top of the key and he's dishing it out and he's making the right reads, because that's what James Scott was being asked to do this past year. So maybe Aly Khalifa is the guy. I think that it's just going to depend on who is showing out as we get closer to the season, because I just don't know that there's an answer to that at this point. So again, TBD, but I think that the weight loss makes things more intriguing, because I'm like, okay, now he's going to be able to play more. What's that going to look like? Well, we'll see. Hurry up and wait. I feel like a broken clock when I say it, but hurry up and wait. Couple more questions to get into on this Monday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. We'll answer them when we come back, coming up shortly. But first, I want to take the time to tell you about our friends and the title sponsor of the show, Gametime. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, defensive stop, and moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and I'm sure it will be in the Toyota Center when I go to Game 2 of the Rockets-Warriors series on Wednesday. And you best believe I'm using Gametime to get those tickets and eliminate the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports games, and the all-in pricing feature means that there aren't any surprise fees at checkout. What you see is simply what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. That is LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Continuing on along through the month of April, getting closer and closer to May. Thanks for making Locked On Louisville your first listen through the month of April. Got a couple more men's basketball questions in this Monday mailbag. The first one is one that I'm going to go ahead and discuss pretty quickly because I don't think it's realistic. What is our ceiling if we land both Kasean Pryor and Chad Baker-Mazara? I know that there are some coincidental connections. Everyone wants to make something out of nothing. Chad Baker-Mazara is not coming to Louisville. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that now. Unless, again, things change. Do I think they will in this situation? No. Could they? I mean, for the sake of possibility, yeah, but I just don't think they will. So the ceiling would be national champions. Unfortunately, I just don't think that there's a way that Louisville they land both Kasean Pryor and Chad Baker-Mazara. What is the realistic chance that Louisville lands Tyran Stokes? He just visited Kansas over the weekend, and the rumblings that he could potentially reclassify were louder than ever, to the point where I was like, oh man, please don't make this the reality where Kansas, an Adidas school where he's an Adidas guy playing on the AAU circuit. Well, technically not right now because he's not going to play AAU this summer, but an Adidas guy, and Kansas has a need for him this season at that position. And if he reclassifies, I mean, it makes much more sense for him to go to Kansas than it would for Louisville this cycle. But it seems like from what we've seen, he's likely going to stay in the 2026 class, and that is good news for the Cardinals because I think that you have the playing time to be able to offer him in 2026. He is going to visit Kentucky officially in May. I think that this summer is going to be all about making those official visits. But I think that Louisville, I mean, if you're asking me, okay, who is the leader? I mean, you feel like Louisville is right up there. If they're not the overall leader, they're in that top group. The realistic chance, it's a pretty good chance, but landing the number one prospect is not easy, especially with the potential NIL package that he might command. So if Adidas is helping somebody out, it needs to be Louisville. If you're telling me that Adidas would be pushing the number one overall player that is from the Derby City to Kansas, I have a big problem with that. And I'm sort of sitting here thinking, what benefit is it for us to be with Adidas if they're going to do that to us? That's just me being the selfish fan. But I think that the Cardinals have a really good chance to land Stokes. Do you know if Louisville is playing in a tournament or a classic over Thanksgiving break? Of course, they're not playing in the Battle for Atlantis or the Maui Invitational. The Battle for Atlantis field is... Woo! You'll know what I'm talking about if you just go look at it. Not going to say anything more than that. Just not a good field. Maui's always a good field. Louisville not playing in that. Nothing else has really been brought to the forefront. Could they play a game at Thanksgiving break? I mean, yeah, I think that they could. What I would like to see would be like a 4-team, and we've seen this a couple seasons, like a 4-team invitational where, you know, you're guaranteed 2 games. The winners play each other and the losers play each other. I don't know. You played up in New York, played in Indianapolis, play it in Chicago, play in Atlanta. I don't care. Just play it somewhere. I want Louisville to have some good games during that week because it's good publicity for Louisville because there's going to be a lot of people watching hoops on Feast Week. But also I want to get those good games on the schedule to build the RPI, to build the net ranking, to build that strength of schedule, to give yourself a chance to get those signature wins that you so desperately needed going into the NCAA tournament selection. And you ended up getting an 8 seed, despite many believing that you were going to get a 5, maybe a 6. So we will see. I would love to see it. I don't know what is going to happen. But at the very least, I don't want to see Louisville not play a game. Even if it's got to be a home game against a mid-major, I don't care. Put it on the schedule. If there's not a game during Thanksgiving week when everyone's off work, that's a failure, man. That's a complete failure. So let me kind of say this as we wrap things up. I'm really excited to see what the non-conference slate's going to look like. You have Tennessee, you've got Kentucky, you've got Indiana. There's a potential that you could have St. John's. St. John's that would be a nice one if you could throw that into Thanksgiving week. But I don't know. I don't know what things are going to look like. When that Kentucky game's actually going to be. There's a lot of rumors that it's early in the season, like late November before the football game, which would be completely wild, but I would like that. A lot of moving parts. Don't know when the schedule fully gets finalized. We're still, 6 months away? Over that? No, 6.5 until the first college basketball game. So, again, mantra of the show. Hurry up and wait. Which is what we are doing, waiting for the Kasean Pryor announcement. Going to do what I can to stay as up to date on this show as I potentially can, or as I possibly can, I should clarify. Going out of town is going to be challenging. Schedule is going to be a little tough to get some stuff talked about, but if significant news pops up at any point this week, we're going to do our best to discuss that. So just a heads up, there likely won't be any episodes. There definitely won't be 5 this week. 3 is probably where we're going to be at, maybe 4, depending on what happens. But thanks again for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, the show is free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week. Your team, every day. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you right back here coming up real soon. Go Cards.